We're just hours away from what could be a pivotal moment in the Georgia election interference case against former President Donald Trump. A federal judge will hear arguments from co-defendant Mark Meadows as he pushes to get his state charges moved to federal court and even possibly dismissed. District Attorney Fani Willis, Fulton County, will provide evidence and legal arguments detailing her sprawling anti-racketeering case against Trump, Meadows, and 17 other co-defendants. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, who is pressured by Trump to find him more votes, has been subpoenaed to testify, and tomorrow we'll likely learn, we think, the trial date for the federal election interference case against Trump. Special counsel Jack Smith wants it to start in January. Trump is pushing for April of 2026. Let's discuss all of this with lawyer George Conway. George, great to see you as always. Let me ask you, this could be, it's kind of strange to think that Fani Willis is going to be going into federal court to lay this all out to prevent the White House Chief of Staff, former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, from having his case moved over to federal court. What are you going to be watching for?
Well, I'm going to be watching for is we're going to get a little preview of the evidence that she has. It's a little bit of a mini trial. The issue isn't whether he did bad things or whether Trump did bad things. The issue is whether or not what Meadows was doing was basically under color of his federal office, and that's the language in the statute. Under color.
What does that mean? Yeah.
What it means is that were you arguably working on behalf of the United States of America? And the answer is clearly he was not. I mean, he's been saying that I was exercising my First Amendment rights. Well, if you were exercising your First Amendment rights, you're engaging in political speech, which is violative of the Hatch Act, and that's not what you work for us. You weren't working for. You're not supposed to be working for the Trump campaign when you are Chief of Staff. So the answer is he went down there in his own private capacity, either that or he was violating the Hatch Act, and he went down there in his private capacity. He was engaging in political activity in support of the Trump campaign, and there's no way that should be held to be under color of federal law.
It's got to be one or the other.
It's got to be one or the other.
Yeah. And Fani Willis, I mean, I kind of wonder what the strategy is going to be for the Fulton County District Attorney, because she also has a trial to prepare for. And she can't necessarily be laying all of her cards on the table. She has to be.
She doesn't have to. Yeah. All she has to show is she'll put Raffensperger on, and my guess is going to be, Raffensperger will go through what happened in the sequence of what happened. Because what happened was when Trump made that phone call, was it January 2nd?
Right before January 2nd.
There had already been an audit, a full audit of the Georgia results. There had been a recount. This electoral votes. Biden had been certified as the winner, and the electors had been chosen, and the electors had already sent their votes to Washington. So there was nothing, and
there were people inside the Trump campaign,
right,
and the White House saying, "Forget it, it's over."
Correct, and the people who were telling the fake electors to be fake electors were campaign people, not government people. And beyond that, I mean, there's so many arguments here.
Yeah.
The United States Constitution and the federal election laws do not put authority in the President of the United States to monitor any elections, even federal elections. That's not his job. It's the job of the states. And if there's a violation of law, then there could be enforcement by the Justice Department. But it doesn't put the President and his Chief of Staff give them any direct role in monitoring the security of elections. And here there was no issue about the security of elections. It was about stealing an election. It was
and you and I have talked about Trump so many times. Do you think there's any way?
You mean P011358809?
Whatever that
I'm trying
number is.
I'm trying to call him that.
Yeah. It's a series of numbers.
Right, yeah.
And I just wonder, is there any chance in the world that he would accept a plea deal?
I don't.
He put "never surrender" in that ad, or his fundraising appeal using his mugshot, "never surrender." I mean, going into a plea agreement would be surrendering, I suppose.
Right, and I don't think he would do that. I mean, maybe if he got a full and complete pass, he might think about it. But I just don't. The problem is, a guilty plea would require him to admit fault and admit wrong, and he is basically the quintessential malignant narcissist, and they can't admit error. He won't admit error. He won't even admit that he weighs more than 215 pounds. So
right, yeah. If he's 6'3", 215 pounds, right. I'm Tom Brady.
Well, that was actually Tom Brady's rookie numbers when he in the combine.
Sadly, I am not 6'3", 215 pounds. But you think some of the other co-defendants might plea out?
I think they're.
What does that do to the case?
Well, I think it streamlines the case for the district attorney, which is good, and allows her to focus more on the defendants who are remaining. And I think it's in the best interest of many of those people to plead, because they don't want to go to jail.
Right.
In Georgia State Prison, it's not a good place to be.
And I want to ask you about the debate. During Wednesday's debate, Asa Hutchinson, the former Arkansas governor, was the only candidate to not raise his hand when asked if he would still back Trump as a nominee if he's convicted in a court of law.
So you don't think this was Christie's?
Well, I guess was Christie. Where was he? He was
He
sort of
did
in
this, and
between
then it went
raising a
down,
hand.
and then
Maybe,
he said,
maybe we can give Chris Christie the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's in there
exactly.
too. What was that? What did that say to you
What it said to me is
about
that
the party, about where this primary
I mean, the
contest
party
is?
is going nowhere fast, and the metaphor that keeps popping into my head is, or simile, I compare it to that Malaysian Airlines flight. I know it's a terrible comparison, but from Kuala Lumpur, it was supposed to go to Beijing, and the crazy pilot flew south into the Indian Ocean and ultimately ran out of gas, and everyone was never seen again. Here you have, GOP Air, and you've got this nut job locked in the cabin, and he's flying off to nowhere. You've got, people in first class like Pence, who's, I don't know, maybe watching the Barbie movie because mother is asleep, and you've got other people just sort of pretending nothing's happening. You've got Hutchinson and Christie running up and down the aisles saying, "This guy's flying us to nowhere. It's a disaster." And then all the people in the back are saying, "Oh, we like the pilot."
Yeah.
And it's too late for them.
But in all seriousness, the party right now is all Trump. I mean, they're almost all Trump
that's
right
right.
now. Do you see any potential for any of these other candidates to emerge that
No,
can knock them out of the race?
No, and that's the point. I mean, with my extended metaphor I was trying to make is that if they had tried to turn the plane around 4 or 5 years ago, they could have made it back.
Yeah.
They can't now. They were in the middle of the ocean, and even if they got control of the plane, it's out of gas and it's halfway to Antarctica.
Yeah.
It's a disaster for the Republican Party, and the smart people in the party kind of know that, but they can't do anything about it.
And you talk, I would imagine you talk to people in the party, and they acknowledge this privately.
I'm not going to divulge conversation, but
Right.
they don't divulge that to me in the sense that they're not going to share that with me, but they know better.
Yeah.
They absolutely know better.
All right, George Conway, great to see you as always. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.